remember in the last video, we mentioned the EDP process at the end of it. And so let's go through those EDP steps. It's ask, explore, imagine, plan, create, test, and improve. In this order, the EDP process offers us a step-by-step procedure to follow, but you should know it's not just linear. It doesn't go from A to B to C to D, and that's the only way it goes. You can enter the process from the desire to improve something that's already existing, or you might want to go back to the exploring and imagining stage when something doesn't work out in your initial design. So let's talk about each one of these EDP steps. The first one is ask. When we're asking, we're defining what the problem is. We're asking how these criteria and constraints are going to be put into our project. We got to make sure that they're managed into the design. Overall, we want to know how to determine the best design. Well, we've already talked about the specific criteria and constraints our project must meet. We'll review those a little bit later. So what do we need to do next? So next, let's explore our supplies, right? So explore, how can all these equipment pieces go together? We know that we have to have 4 reservoirs, and we know we have to have 2 canal sections. How does all this stuff go together? What testing should be done to put it together? There's a lot to think about as we're exploring, and we'll do more explanation in a little bit. What else might help us? Yes, that's where we use our imagination. Once we have an idea of what to work with and how those parts work together, we can imagine a way to put those parts together. Ultimately, we want to think of the best way to arrange our reservoir containers and canals, and we need to try different ways of grouping them. So we might not get this right the first time, so we may need to make adjustments to improve our design as we go. Can you think of some ways to start putting all these things together in your head? I bet you can. What could be the next thing that we need to do and think about? To help us imagine, it's helpful to have a plan. And with a plan, you can sketch out your system design and label it in order to think through all the details. It's tempting to just jump in and go ahead and build it, but believe me, you'll save a lot of time and frustration if you take the time to plan first, and also save a lot of money. Also, we need to figure out how to test our plan once we put it together. APW gave me a set of plans to work with, but they're allowing me to use my own professional judgment and experience to modify these plans. Can you think of reasons why we might want to modify our original design? Yeah, we might want to modify our plan if our original design doesn't meet the criteria or constraints. For example, we might have a limited budget to work with, so we want to plan our resources carefully. We don't want to go over budget. Nobody's happy when you go over budget. Do you remember what occurs in our EDP system after planning? Yes, that's the fun part, creating. We're going to build our system. And as we build, we want to make sure that we're meeting those criteria and constraints. Do you remember what they are? Well, let's take another quick look before we begin. So the criteria, it's got to be 4 feet in length. That's what our model needs to be, 4 feet in length. It also needs to be 12 inches high. There has to be 4 different reservoirs, so 1, 2, 3, say 4 different reservoirs. And 2 canals, so I'm assuming we're going to maybe use these as canals. The canals must flow by gravity between 2 reservoirs, so they need to be tipped down so the gravity can work. And we can only use these 3 pumps. We don't have to use all the materials, but we can't use any more. Can you guess what the next step is in the EDP? It's the testing of your design.